All right, everybody, welcome to Down the Line Football Week 4, Episode 4, talking offensive lines, talking Week 4 picks. Here with my main friend, Khari Demos. I'm so sorry, dude. I'll get it right at some point.
No worries. No worries. Nice to see you as always, man. How we doing on a Sunday?
I'm awesome, man. I'm loving life. That feeling right before the football game starts is like one of the best feelings. It's like if life had like a save game point, like a video game save game point, I would save it right here because it's the anticipation of the games. It's just almost better than the games themselves sometimes. But I feel good. I had a really fun day watching the college games. I know you have been teaching and coaching these young men. With your, why don't you tell us a little bit about your coach's week and your practices and the games that you've been going through?
Yeah, it's been crazy, man. Coaching at one of the top programs out here in Rochester, Monroe High School, which is right in the heart of the city. So repping the squad today, But tough one yesterday, man. We played our crosstown rival, and we were in a lower division the last few years, but we moved up to their division. They were the reigning Class A champs. We were reigning Class B champs, but a lot of John going back and forth because we know a lot of those guys, players and coaches, training together throughout the off season and stuff like that. So it was a little fun, little family rivalry. But yeah, it was good, or it was tough, how it ended because it was a good moment for our city. But tough with us not being able to come out on top, especially having a lead to half and everything. So, hopefully we see those guys in the playoffs, somewhere down the line. But yeah,
That's
I would
why they
say
call
also.
it.
Oh no, go ahead.
Go. I was gonna say basically any given Sunday, any given Saturday, whatever day you're playing, like
Yeah,
anything can
sure.
happen.
Yeah, yeah, two great teams though. So I mean, iron sharpens iron, and I think we really got to see like as much as man, this is tough. We took this L. Don't get it twisted. We were definitely showing our worth in as far as being in that spot. To play against a team like that. So I think we just gotta just readjust, move on from it, and learn from it. Really. So we'll be good though. We'll be just fine.
I mean, even though it didn't work out for you, I think that's great to have that experience. Just going back in my days, it's been many years since I've played a football game, but I remember some of the losses just as much as I remember some of the wins, and that builds character, and character is the most important thing, of a football player. But we're going to talk about foot speed and 40 times and all sorts of stuff too in the next few minutes. So
Yeah.
without further ado, we got week 4 picks. I got some picks. I don't know if you have any to share, but I've been going through all the games and I've come up with a few best bets for the week. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to jump right into it.
Yeah, of course.
One of my favorite teams to bet on these days is the Washington Commanders, getting 3.5 against Arizona. Nothing against Arizona. They're a really good offense. I love watching what Marvin Harrison Jr. did last couple weeks. I mean, they're a handful. Arizona's a very good team as well. I just think 3.5 is a lot. I think Jaden Daniels is kind of the truth. Coming off a short week is tough, but I like what I see when I watch that offense. I like Sam. We did a bit on Sam Cosmi in the preseason. I think their offensive line is coming together. Meanwhile, the Arizona offensive line losing people. Kelvin Beachum is a replacement. They lose Jonah Williams. They're kind of going down in health, and the Commanders are kind of going up in health. Not that I bet the O lines, but that's one of my picks for the day. Any reaction to that?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's one that I really was intrigued by, just coming off of how both teams looked the last couple of weeks. I think both teams are in similar spots where you've got some newer regimes and some guys that are really trying to build around really young electrifying quarterbacks, dual threat guys, and they've had their ups and downs, but both I think have shown to be pretty capable when asked to take over. But I think Jaden Daniels, huge win Monday night in Cincy, and just the way he played down the stretch in that game. I mean, even just finishing the game with 2 incompletions. I was a huge fan of him coming out, so I picked them to win as well. And I think that's also a very good. It's always so interesting when it comes to lines. Vegas is very telling with how they set the spreads, and I think sometimes certain spreads can be a little intriguing. It's like it makes you wonder, like, what do they have, or what do they know, and like what info do they have that they don't want to share with the public. But a lot of times the truth comes to light. But yeah, I think that's a very favorable pick there. Now a pick that I wanted to mention is I think if we want to talk about best bets and things like that, I think one that's for sure is the Houston Texans going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars today. We got a spread of -5.5, and to me, I really think I know a lot of people like to play into the desperation card with things, and they say the Jags are a team that they're going to go out and play hard for Doug Peterson, but why haven't they done that thus far? They're a team that's 0-3 and had some opportunities against to really win the first 2 games that they played in, especially the Miami game. I think that was a blown opportunity. Then even the game in Cleveland, they just really, their offense didn't show up. I know Cleveland's defense is still pretty formidable, but still. And then really didn't show up last week, as I can speak to my, being here in Western New York, seeing what that egg they laid on Monday night last week. So, the Jags to me, I think are a team that they're kind of like the beaten puppy. Like they're they have to show that they've got some fight. Whereas Houston, I think, is in a position where they were humbled last week, right? 2-0 start, looked good against Indy, ups and downs against Chicago, but Chicago has a good defense. They did lock down Caleb Williams, but I think when talking about last week against Minnesota, that was really pitted as a game of the week type of thing. So 2 young up and coming teams, and really the Texans got knocked out in the first round, unfortunately. But I think for them, they're a team that has a lot of talent. They got a lot of veteran leadership. Believe in D'Amico Ryans. 5.5, I think, is kind of a small spread in this matchup. So I'm taking the Texans over Jacksonville in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I can't find any flaw in that logic. There's definitely something wrong with Trevor Lawrence. I saw a stat that he's lost his last 8 starts dating back to last year. I liked him coming out. I didn't necessarily think he was generational, but sometimes these guys, they don't necessarily get it. I think watching Andy Dalton take over for Bryce Young last week is telling in terms of what a veteran who knows what an NFL window looks like can do for your offense versus a rookie or someone who's still learning. And Trevor might still be learning or just regressing at this point. So I don't know what their other options are, if they have any other options, but I like that. I think that's a good bet. I think that's a pretty solid bet. It's divisional, I think. So that's always tough. So moving on, I have a couple others, and then we'll get to the offensive line. Such interesting games today. This is really, I'm staying away from the big games. I'm not going to say like I don't have a best bet for the Baltimore Buffalo game. That's going to be an awesome game, and I don't really have a best bet for some of these other like pick'em type games. Like I think Tampa Bay Eagles could be a very close game. Some of these games could go to overtime today. I'm looking for the edges. So in terms of what I play, I got Washington. I gotta say I like. For opposite reasons. When you said these spreads are interesting and what is Vegas trying to tell us with the prices of it, it's kind of like you walk into the butcher store and you're like, why is this ground hamburger $1 a pound? And you're like, what are you trying to tell me, right, with this pricing? So I thought it was an interesting sort of spread was Minnesota at Green Bay. Minnesota's 3-0. undefeated, looking amazing. Green Bay's 2-1. They're getting Love back, Jordan Love back this week, which is awesome news. But it's like that. We don't know how healthy he's going to be. What would you expect that line to be?
Yeah, I'm honestly intrigued to see that it swung the Packers' way. At -2.5. I think that's just again from Vegas. That's a true sign of the the home field advantage. So just taking that into consideration. I do like Green Bay. I do. I picked them. I thought it was going to be an upset, but seeing it's essentially a push as far as what Vegas views these teams equally. But with the home field advantage there. So, but I'm gonna roll with Green Bay because I think Matt LaFleur is one of the most underrated coaches in the league. I believe in his system, and I also think what Jeff Hafley has done with coming in defensively, he's been able to, I'm not saying they're the world beaters yet, but they're playing a lot better. I think they're playing more cohesively. They're more of a unit. They have more of a presence, and so because of that, I think they'll be able to at least slow down what Minnesota's been doing. It's first of all, I'm honestly extremely happy for Sam Darnold because I really did like him coming out. As a Buffalo Bills fan, 2018 draft class. I got invested into evaluating all those guys, and Darnold and Rosen and Josh Allen, Lamar, Baker, like there's so many guys, and Darnold to me was definitely one of the better of those prospects. I thought very highly of him, but it just goes to show what happens when you go to subpar. No, I'm just kidding. I don't want to do that to you with the Jets, but it's
you call it like you see it. That's
yeah,
if the shoe fits, if the cap fits, wear it. You know what I mean?
yeah, for sure. But yeah, the Jets definitely were not the perfect situation to go into, and it showed with Sam Darnold. And obviously now Carolina has looked up, had its ups and downs with how they've managed quarterbacks, and so Darnold and Baker have been able to succeed in much different situations outside of there. So again, situations really do matter. So, but yeah, I think I like Green Bay. Josh Jacobs coming in, being able to run the ball. I like their backup as well. I believe it's Taylor, or Wilson. I have to take a look, but yeah, they've got a real good situation there. And just talking about, we'll get more into it, when we bring up Zach Tom. But the one thing I really like about the Packers is they're really able to run the ball. So, yes, Jordan Love's coming back today, and like you said, he's not going to be, Jordan Love that we saw week one, but I think he's going to be able to, get the ball out of his hands quick, some play action, roll out, just get the ball out to his guys. The thing I love about their offense is that they've got, so many different pieces that can get involved in the passing game. So, it's not like he's going to have to be coming back and trying to force feed a guy. He's going to be just playing in the rhythm of the offense regardless. So, I think that it'll be a good matchup for sure. I know it's again listed as a push, but I think what Green Bay has been building. I think it gives them a shot against this hot Minnesota team. But to me, I think this Minnesota team is going to. I'm not going to say course correction because I do think they have a good team. I think they've got some talent, but I like what Green Bay has been building, and I think it's time for them to show the NFL that they're definitely one of the upper echelon teams.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those games where if it was played in a Madden simulator, I would think the Vikings would be favored based on how they've been playing, how explosive the offense is. Jefferson, Darnold putting up video game numbers, but it's not played in a video game. It's not played in a dome today. Today it's played in a Lambeau Field on grass. And Vegas is telling us they're favorites for the home field advantage. And I was very impressed with the way Green Bay was able to win without their quarterback. It's a system. It's a lot of these teams, they're switching up their offensive systems all the time. This is like an established outside zone. We're going to jump right into it. I mean, like I have a couple more picks. Maybe we'll get back to them at the end of this, but Green Bay and the Minnesota Vikings have two of the best right tackles in the league. And we're going to talk about the first one right now, Zach Tom. This is an earlier clip. I believe this is from week 1. It's a zone stepping to the to everybody's right, and it's going to loop a couple times. There's a lot of stuff happening in this clip. I tried to look at Walker all the way down the field. What I love about the Packers, and when you see these clips, is everybody's getting into it all the time, looking for work all the way down the field. But it all starts with that edge seal. With that edge seal, number 50 is Zach Tom on the right side. It's a left side on the screen here, based on the all-22 angle. But just a lot of team blocking. On defense, it's like swarm to the ball. Well, in this offense, like everybody's looking for a piece of the action. 50, 71, bang, over, just burying guys, and this was a big play. They ended up losing this game, I believe. It was a close game, but what do you see as a coach, as a person who used to play the position? Like, what do you see from Zach Tom out of this?
Yeah, I think the thing that stands out about Zach Tom on this play is, very good technique for sure, with moving his feet and the reach there, but the instincts to have the foresight to be like, okay, I've got to reach block Nolan Smith, but he's rushing inside. I'm just going to get a piece of him, keep it clean. You spring Jaden Reed here, and then he's got other horses in front of him to get him to the paint. I think this is a beautiful job. And the thing I like about Matt LaFleur's offenses have been, to me, the movement and it's really a modern offense, and the fact that you're basing everything off, like you said, the outside zone. The play action game is built off of that, but also just getting guys involved in a lot of different ways. So yeah, Jaden Reed is a receiver, but we've obviously seen what he can do as an all-pro returner. So giving him the ball in a jet sweep like this, just get some guys out lead blocking for him in space, and sayonara. So I think just being able to see the way that the Packers O-line effort-wise here, really selling out down the field, cutting guys off, and then once they're getting to the second level, really moving people. It's just brilliant. Really, really brilliant play here, and I think part of the reason why they're the league's leading rushing team overall, at over 200 yards a game right now.
Absolutely. I have more Zach Tom to show us. We're going to go right to the next one. This is against the Titans last week. He gets the double team at the point of attack. And I wanted to highlight Josh Myers burying somebody. Again, more of that downfield sort of, we see these plays on SportsCenter, but we don't usually see them from this angle. And this is a big play. This is a Malik Willis quarterback keeper. He gains, 30 yards on it. And to get from the double team to find more work, just a lot of stuff going on there. I'm trying to get a little better at my video editing skills, but what do you see in this one?
I love this play so much. First of all, I'm such a fan of the pistol offense. This is a split zone action here. We got the tight end running over 85. Oh my goodness, I'm drawing a blank on his name. Is that Kraft?
Is it Kincaid or something? Oh yeah.
Is it Kraft? I believe.
Tyler Kraft.
Tyler Kraft. I believe Tucker Kraft.
Tucker Kraft.
Okay. But the thing I love about it is it's just a split action zone read, and it's a very simple play, but it's really dressed up. It's simply the zone left action from the line up front, backside of the play. You're reading 92 to see if he crashes down. If he crashes down, boom, you pull it. If you're Malik Willis, and he does that and makes him pay. He's got some legs. I think this is a play that really is catered to Malik Willis. Jordan Love definitely can run, but Malik Willis's superpower is his legs. So, but the thing about this play, so Zach Tom, he's able to block down on that. Let's see, once it restarts here, he's able to block down on that D tackle, that 3-tech, boom, double team here, and Malik Willis has an easy read and a lead blocker. I love this look from the Green Bay Packers. Again, this is a play completely designed for your backup quarterback. And there are a lot of teams in the NFL that when they have a backup coming to the game, they still try to run the same offense that that they have for their starter, and sometimes that works. There have been some systems that I think like last year when the Eagles brought in Marcus Mariota, or even similar to that now with him being in Washington, being behind Jaden Daniels, two dual threat type of guys. So you don't have to change your offense up that much, but for the Buffalo Bills, God forbid if they were to have to deal with an injury to Josh Allen. I'm sorry, I'm thinking a little bit of prior. This year he's got Mitchell Trubisky back, but there were years, where he had Case Keenum last year, Kyle Allen. Those guys, yes, good, competent players that could come in and win you a game or two as backups, but at the same time too, completely different players than Josh Allen. So your offense completely changes. So you can't really run it the same way, So, but yeah, I think Zach Tom and the Green Bay Packers, they've been able to really move guys. But I think, the thing that stands out to me about Matt LaFleur and his offense is it's just creativity, but really simple concepts at the end of the day. It's really just, simple football, but, to be able to get your opponents a little distracted, to take their eye off of what they should be focusing on. I mean, you see it even on a simple play like the zone read there. Green Bay has been effective and been able to really pile up the yardage on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, tomorrow night the Dolphins are going to start Tyler Huntley basically off the street. How much of that offense does he know? So a play like this is something that could work in any offense when you have a mobile quarterback. We're going to keep going. I have a couple more clips. I want to also mention, according to Kentley Platt on Twitter or X, Zach Tom had a 9.59 RAS score, which is pretty darn high. We're talking about a 33-inch vertical leap, not 4.94 40-yard dash, 1.6 10-yard split. His 3-cone was also excellent, 7.32 for a guy who's 6'4", 304, coming out of Wake Forest.
Okay.
I'm not saying that that's something that everybody needs, but when you see this film, the athleticism, the first step, things like that, you can't teach. You can teach a guy to get better, but you can't teach some of these God-given skills.
Yeah, that's so true. But you know what, though? Again, like even just seeing a couple of these clips, he's a really instinctual lineman. Just looking at this concept here, we've got just a play side toss, and he really is just able to reach this D end pretty easily. And I know he shot inside for sure, but what you see is once he gets that outside shoulder, he's able to just hold that guy down inside. And I think it really just shows again like how smart of a player he is. He could have just tried to blow this guy up and sent him upfield. And if he had done that, he would have been pushing him right into his running back Wilson there. So I think just seeing that Zach Tom is able to not only get in front of guys with his athleticism, but know how to cut guys off. As far as I always try to tell my players, you got to build a wall. You know where the lane is, where the running back is supposed to hit the gap, right? And when you keep that in mind and let that guide you when you block, that mentality will help you to be able to figure out, okay, I've got to make sure that I'm angled this way. I'm angled up this way to make sure that he can't really impact the play. And, just seeing how Zach Tom was able to do that on this play was crucial in this big chunk play.
Yeah, I stopped it in my little video editing at the 31's at the 42-yard line. In about a split second, he's at the 48, and I stopped it right there to highlight exactly what you're talking about. He doesn't get in the running back's way, and this guy hits north-south. I mean, it's just after watching college football all day, to go from the 42 to basically the other 48 and not barely get touched. It's an incredible speed and explosion, and you don't want that guy running into your back. That's the last thing you want. It's like getting behind a rocket ship, you know.
Yep.
So there's one more clip I've got that might be the best one, just in terms of just pure chaos. And this one, you notice the red armband. He's right in front of Jeffrey Simmons, who is a beast, and he goes down, and you look and you're like, okay, what happened here? Watch Elgin Jenkins as well at left guard. There's just this. I picked this play just to show the chaos of what happens in line play. He gets banged by 53. 53 goes into 74. 73-4 goes into 98. Just a lot of stuff happening here, but it's like this would be like a very average game, sort of play on TV. You really wouldn't see much. I actually think there's more yardage to the right. He cuts back and takes what he can get and goes north to south. But I think if he stretches this out, there's actually some more room. I would love to hear your opinion on what you see in this play.
Yeah. The tough thing about it on a play like this is, first of all, I'm not necessarily a big fan of running, outside zone or sweep concepts to the boundary. I think that you're just limiting yourself as far as space. The dimensions just aren't there. So I don't think this is necessarily a great play call. However, I think because of that takes into account the decision to cut this back here. Just because, you got to look at it from the perspective of, let's say if it was flipped, maybe he could stretch it out a little bit more because, he'd have some more real estate. But because it's a little short-sighted, he sees, okay, well, maybe I could just cut this back, cut up underneath, and, pick up what I can get. And he ends up making pretty good gain of it, picking up 5-6 yards just because the way the cutback is designed here, cuts off the tackles down block, But, yeah, I think, again, I'm not the biggest fan of this call. And that's no slight to Matt LaFleur again at his play calling. This particular is not my favorite, but again, it ended up being a positive play because Josh Jacobs was able to cut back and able to just pick up some yardage, following a lead blocker essentially.
Yeah, that's a great point about the boundary. As somebody who's not a coach, you don't real often think about that. And also if you're Josh Jacobs, I believe that's number 8. Can you get to the boundary and outrun these guys? You probably can't. I mean, if you're Tyreek Hill or something, maybe you could, or somebody with blazing speed. But we're just going to keep going. I really enjoyed that film breakdown of Zach Tom. Unless you have anything else to add on him, I would like to move right into the opposite, what they would call the opposite number in rugby, the other team's right tackle for today's game, Brian O'Neill. Anything else to add on Zach?
No, I think I think what really again, as far as I mentioned the Green Bay Packers being underrated, Matt LaFleur being underrated, I think Zach Tom is one of the most underrated, not only tackles, but just offensive linemen in football. He's graded out extremely well over the last 2 seasons. And, I think as the Packers, now in this new era, past Aaron Rodgers and everything like that, I think, the success that they have under, Jordan Love will be interesting to see how, some of these guys get, really remembered and reflected on. I think you think of guys like Larry Allen, think of guys like Jonathan Ogden. Those guys were absolutely unbelievable Hall of Fame players, but they also played on some championship teams too, So we'll see where things go from here for Green Bay. But yeah, I think he is going to start getting more recognition, especially if Green Bay can keep stacking up wins.
Yeah, before we leave him, one of the rumors I heard about Zach Tom was that he has true 5-position versatility, and some scouts believe his truest position might be center, where he could be an all-pro in the Jason Kels kind of pulling mode, or Kevin Mawai sort of guy. But the way Myers is playing, why would you do that? And also, you need a right tackle, you need a left tackle. These are all big time positions. I remember when I first started, there would be like a Joe Thomas or there would be a star here and there. All these guys are corporations on two legs. All these guys, they don't give these jobs away. I've said it before. And we're going to talk about Brian O'Neill, right tackle from the Minnesota Vikings, number 75. I put that RT there to illustrate where he started versus where he finished on this play. I look at where he starts there, and I put the RT down. I mean, that's people moving. He's all the way over in LT land. And this is another sort of unique athlete. Round 2 out of Pittsburgh in 2018, a 9.6 RAS score, a 4.8 40-yard dash at 6'6", 297. I mean, you don't really find guys like that. How a guy like this got to round 2 always baffles me, but I would love to hear what you're seeing in this particular play.
Yeah, I've always been a big fan of Brian O'Neill, and I also, especially having played right tackle my entire college career, I was always a fan of these guys because this was the type of player I was, taller, leaner type of tackle, but athleticism. And the thing that to me that stands out about these types of tackles is I feel like this is really the prototype now. We mentioned Zach Tom earlier. He doesn't have the length as far as height wise as Brian O'Neill, but is a little more of a stouter athletic right tackle, whereas O'Neill is a little bit of a longer, I don't want to say lumbering, but I think he's got more of a lean on you type of factor, as you can see here on this play, just because of the height at 6'6". But Brian O'Neill, to me, like I always tell people, or I always tell my players, if you're gonna, have a guy cross your face, you got to do this. You got to just get him out of the club, really. Just move him right down that line at that point. Because it'd be one thing to say, okay, hey, you cross my face and you open up, and then you're looking back at Aaron Jones, and now, it's a TFL. He said, no, I'm just going to move this guy completely down the line of scrimmage so I know he's not a factor. And this, to me, is how you're supposed to really attack a down block. I wish he could get his head up a little bit higher, get his hands on his outside shoulder a little bit more rather than having the up and under, because let's say this DT rips through, he could get the holding call. But what I will say is Brian O'Neill's effort on this was really significant, and you see Aaron Jones being able to really get to moving after this or on this play because of that block front side.
Yeah, I mean, I probably run a 7-second 40 at this point in my life, and I think I could even get through that hole. You know what I mean? I mean, you hear people say that, but that was a big one. And I think the foot speed is apparent on film. That's something you can't really teach. Here's another sort of a screen set where he flashes and then gets out in front. This wasn't a touchdown or anything, but I liked his initial set. It kind of sold it against Bosa, who's not a dummy. And again, I would love to hear Coach on this one. What do you see?
Yeah, for sure. I think the one thing I would critique is I wish he got a hand on Bosa there. But I think, just the way they ran this must have been a real short, quick screen that they wanted to get. So it was really almost, and I think it's hard to assess because it looks like Darnold wanted to grip and rip, but had to pump fake. So, but I think the only critique I'll have is about the not getting a hand, because Brian O'Neill's footwork, his first step, really apparent on this play. And this is, personnel matters, right? You don't really call a play like this if you have a super lumbering, tackle. This is, with a dancing bear. You got a really nimble guy playing RT. So you're able to call a play like this, and like you said, not able to record or get into the paint with a touchdown. They were able to gain positive yardage setting up a score in this game. But again, Brian O'Neill being able to get out, quickly evade Nick Bosa, work up to the linebacker, get a piece, and help Aaron Jones at least get closer to the end zone. Is again a testament to the type of athlete that he is.
Yeah, I liked how sticky he was when he got to the linebacker. A lot of times you'll see a guy get out in space, these NFL players, and they don't touch anybody. They just kind of occupy space, and that can work as well. The running back can use him for interference, but we've got one more Brian O'Neill click, then maybe a couple more picks, and then we'll all enjoy these morning games, these afternoon games, whatever, depending on where you are in the country. So this is the 97-yard pass play to Justin Jefferson, which is a very cool angle to watch it from back there. And seen it, I won't subject you to the last 30 yards but look how he isolates Bosa and pushes him by. I mean, I think it's pretty essential part of this play.
Oh, it is. And I think, this is the technique I always try to teach guys and have always tried to adhere to when I was a player, and it's really stabbing with that inside hand and just making sure that you guide those DNs right outside up the field. It's much easier for a quarterback to be able to step up in the pocket rather than, a DN is crashing inside and he's got to duck out that and then roll out of the pocket and reset himself and, find the receiver. So that's a much more difficult process. So this is teach tape right here, especially against one of the top guys in the league. He's got some length on Nick Bosa, so he's able to just ride him by and really is able to set up Jettas to do what he does out wide. But I think just being able to give Darnold this type of protection, this backed up, again, he's able to step up, let that thing fly. See you later, Justin Jefferson. So a beautiful play up front overall by the Vikings, but led by their really high level right tackle. Truly one of the best in the game, and it has been for a few years now.
Yeah, I mean, it's looking at these tapes of the Vikings, I feel more confident in our pick from before, in the sense that everything that's happening to them is kind of a best case scenario. It's like I would like to talk about two more picks before we leave. We talked about the Commanders, we like them. We talked about the Texans, we like them. We talked about Zach Tom and the Green Bay Packers and their system. I want to talk about two more picks before we log off and get to enjoy these games. The Rams +3 at Chicago. I don't love that it's a 1:00 start for a team from the West going out to the Midwest, but other than that, I'm not a believer in the Bears offense at this point. I think they have the potential to be very good, but give me the team with the better quarterback right now, I guess is my thinking on this.
I definitely hear that. I think it's when it really comes down to it, you've got a potential future Hall of Fame quarterback who, he's aging, but has some solid pieces around him. Not obviously the full repertoire we thought he was going to be throwing to, and team that has some injuries as well. So this is actually a game that I personally wanted to stay away from, but I respect your decision to step into it. But at the same time, too, just because I also think with the Bears defense, to me, that's their best unit. That's the best thing they got right now. And then on the flip side of that, like you said, Stafford's on the other side of, another fellow number 1 overall pick in Caleb Williams. And I do believe that at some point, Caleb Williams will figure it out. I believe that he'll become the player that he was selected to become. But, we saw what Peyton Manning was as a rookie. We saw, Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes sit as rookies. Not every rookie is Jaden Daniels. Not every rookie is Cam Newton. So there are, some growing pains that are going on right now. And I think he can surpass them for sure. But, this is start number 4 for him in the big league, So, and again, what I will say is LA's defense is not, again, necessarily a world-beating defense whatsoever. So maybe this is a game that he can start to build on and really pick things up. But at the same time, too, they just aren't necessarily on the same page as of yet. I am encouraged by the fact that he's got Keenan Allen coming back. He does have DJ Moore still, but they've had no type of running game to speak of. DeAndre Swift's been averaging literally less than 2 yards a carry. So it's really not been the most productive unit whatsoever all around, and mixing that in with injuries too. So I personally wanted to stay away from it, but I do think because of some of the inconsistencies with Caleb right now, and the gelling and maturation that still needs to go on, I do think that LA is a good pick. But again, I'm staying away from this.
That's fine. That's okay. That's okay. These last 2 picks are mine. Let it be known. These last 2 picks are my picks, not Khari's. So I think if you look at the Bears, their whole roster, their O-line, everything, the Bears have a better team than the Rams right now. It's just, as a Jets fan, I've seen this movie before, where the roster is good and you've got guys that can play at every position, but your quarterback's not getting it done. And whether you're talking about Zach Wilson or, Sam or Gino or whoever you want to talk about, I've seen that at the early stages of their career where these guys are out there too early. And it's very hard to say to a kid, you need to get your internal clock faster. You need to make reads. And by the way, here's the game plan for this week's team. You know what I mean? I think it's a lot to fix in the season. Certainly there's a lot of hope for the future, and we'll talk about whether it was a good pick or not, at that point. But for this weekend, all the money seems to be going towards Chicago. I feel like that's sort of wishful thinking. It's like he's going to turn it around and this and that. And it's like, yeah, he could, or we could just go with the same Trevor Lawrence trend of he's not. Show it to me first. Make me lose my money. You know what I mean? And the last sort of weird pick of the day, I've got Cleveland Browns. They're visiting the Raiders. It's an afternoon game. This is mostly a pick based on the injury situation in Las Vegas, where I don't like a team without Devontae Adams and probably without Max Crosby. I wonder how they win that game without those 2 guys. One of those guys, maybe. Both of them, Gardner Minshew and Brock Bowers are going to have to be lighting it up, which could happen. Cleveland just has we talk about defenses. They have a very strong defense. Their offense is obviously pretty anemic. I just feel like the storyline of people not liking Deshaun Watson for personal reasons sort of guides their money, when really you have to be a little more objective about this. I'm not inviting this person over for dinner, to meet my daughter or whatever, these are professional football players. He's not a nice guy, but I think somewhere in his brain, he still remembers how to play football. Mari Cooper, Elijah Moore, guys like this can produce if you give them targets and feed them. So, part of sports betting is putting yourself in uncomfortable places. And that's what I'm doing with this Browns pick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I agree. This was one I felt a little bit more confident about this one than the Rams Bears game. And, I think it really comes down to, like you said, first and foremost, the defense for Cleveland is really lights out. One of the best units in the game still, coming off of the season they had last year. And I really do think that, like you said, the fact that not only are Devontae and Max Crosby out, but you also got to think too, whether it's Gardner Minshew, whether it's Aiden O'Connell, like how productive is this Raiders offense really going to be? And then you factor in the running game hasn't been there as well. I mean, Alexander Madison had some moments the first couple of weeks, but they're really not running the ball super effectively. So I think I don't think this is too tough of a pick, in my opinion. This is really like, to me, it comes down to, for the Browns, and I think this is going to be a lot of weeks when they play some of these lower tier teams like Vegas is Deshaun Watson going to not get in the way of the team? And if he's able to just hop along on the bandwagon with everybody else, not get in the way, just, again, play clean football, a touchdown pass here or there, run when he needs to, I think he'll be just fine, and this team will be just fine. It really comes down to I don't know if we'll ever see an elite Deshaun Watson ever again. I don't know. I don't know if everything that's taking place with him off the field led to the Monstars getting to him or what. But this man, to me, as long as he plays just smart, efficient, clean football, the sky is the limit for this team, because they really are one of the most talent-laden rosters in the game and have been for a couple of years now. But when the quarterback play isn't consistent, it shows in the results for the squad.
Yeah, maybe it's just my biases, but I have more faith in a player like Watson rediscovering an old form than a player like Caleb forging a new form on the fly, which probably will happen in a couple of years, but not tonight. And one other note about that Cleveland game, those games in Vegas can often become sort of second home games for the visit. I mean, I know a lot of fans, a lot of Jets fans, a lot of people, they circle that date on their calendar and they say, I'm going to Vegas that weekend. So I'll expect to hear I think it'll be a semi friendly crowd for Cleveland. Although, the Raiders fans aren't terrible. Like some fan bases, for example, the Chargers host the Chiefs tonight, later today. And I fully expect there to be more Chiefs fans in that building than Chargers fans in Englewood, California, when that game kicks off. You'll notice I have picks for all these games. I don't. These ones in the bottoms are the ones I'm actually comfortable recommending. But just real quick, I'll just rattle off what I got for everybody. Carolina 5.5. I like the points. I like the Red Rocket. The Jets -7.5. I don't want to bet on the Jets today, but I think they're going to be mad about this Sean Payton thing, and I think they're going to have a little revenge. Atlanta money line. I think the Atlanta New Orleans Saints game is basically a pick 'em, and I think Atlanta's pretty tough. Green Bay, we talked about. Houston, we talked about. Steelers. I like the Steelers in this spot. I think a lot of people have money on their Colts this morning, but the Steelers are playing good football, and they also have a tough defense. And until you show me a losing streak out of them or something, I'm comfortable with that. The Rams, we talked about. Tampa Bay, Eagles. I have Tampa Bay money line, but I think this could go either way, and this would be a don't play sort of situation for me. San Francisco -10, and it feels like too many points, but I would take San Francisco if you forced me. Kansas City, too many points, but I would take the 7.5. I mean, I'd give the 7.5 if you made me. Cleveland, we talked about. Buffalo, Baltimore tonight. I hate to tell you this, but I have Baltimore money line, but it could go either way. And I have no confidence in that. I just think it's going to be a really good game. And the Monday night picks I have are Tennessee, because Miami without Tua is not good, and Detroit, Seattle. Again, I don't like the 3.5, but I would take Detroit.
Gotcha. Yeah, I like it. I'm aligned with a lot of those picks as well. I've got I'm rolling with Atlanta. I've got LA Rams taking over the Chicago Bears today. I'm rolling with the Green Bay Packers. I've got the Steelers. I think their defense is maybe one of the most not underrated, but under-discussed components of this season. They've been dominant over on that side. I want to say the New York Jets are going to handle business today against the Denver Broncos. Again, like you mentioned, the Tampa game going up against Philly. This is a game that I again would also recommend as a don't play if you don't have to. But if you had to make me pick under my head, I'm picking that Philly. I just believe in what Saquon Barkley has been able to add as a is a a free agent addition this offseason, and
Huge.
behind
He's
that
been huge.
offensive line, it's really showcased his talents. So really excited to see what they this is kind of like a mini, not rivalry, but these two teams, they played a couple times in the playoffs
There's
last year.
revenge there. If you believe in revenge, if you believe in revenge, there's revenge there.
For sure. Yeah, Jalen Hurts has lost 2 playoff games in Tampa in his career. So, I think that's a little underlying storyline there. I'm going with the Cincinnati Bengals. It's just, to me, it's tough to see a team like Cincinnati get off to the start that they have. I know a lot of people picked them to potentially go to the Super Bowl. I actually picked them to go to the Super Bowl, but I think they get back on track this week against Andy Dalton in his quasi-revenge game. As I mentioned earlier with Jacksonville and Houston, I'm going with the Texans on that. I do like the Commanders over the Cardinals. Rolling with the 49ers over New England for them to get on track and get back to 500. Going with the Browns, as we mentioned earlier, over the Raiders. Going with Patrick Mahomes and the Chargers, or over the Chargers. I think just seeing some of the numbers that Mahomes has had in his career, 8-2 against the Chargers, over 100 passer rating against them, and you, like you mentioned too, with the fan component of things. LA Chargers fans, you gotta bolt up if you want to be able to help the Chargers be able to take down KC today. But again, I think it'll be a good matchup. Again, talking Bills Ravens. I personally am going to go with the Bills. No bias here. They've looked wonderful. They've had really the best team so far. Throughout the early portion of the NFL season. They've had some dominant wins. With Miami and taking down the Jags last week, and they were able to show some resolve in Week 1 against Arizona, who is shown to be a pretty competitive team. So. I think, just the way they've looked through 3 games, and Josh Allen is looking to really cement himself as an MVP candidate. I think he can do that, in Lamar's house this weekend. And then, just talking about the Monday night games, Miami, I'm personally going with over Tennessee. I think Sue Huntley gives them a much better shot than Skylar Thompson personally. But, I think just being able to see the struggles that Tennessee, in particular with Will Levis having the first 3 games. I like Miami to take that one at home. And then just to close things out, I think, got another great matchup with Seattle and Detroit, but I'm going with Detroit. Them playing at home, really like what Dan Campbell's built up that way. Jared Goff and, all the different guys that he can spread the ball out to. And then that running game on that offensive line, I think, is almost or one of the coolest things to see. To be able to see a team really and there are a lot of teams that are built this way, but I think they've really committed to that, and it's really become their identity is running that rock and, leaning on those big guys up front. I think it'll be a low scoring game. Seattle's defense is really good. Shout out to Mike McDonald, who I thought was a great addition to, become the successor to Pete Carroll up in Seattle. But I'm going with Detroit in this one too.
Well, we will see how these picks age for both of us. Put some skin in the game. Before we go, I just want to say that Baltimore Buffalo game has the feeling of conference championship, or obviously KC isn't there, and there are other teams we could talk about in the AFC, Houston, and there we could talk about a bunch of teams. But as a Jets fan, and a lot of Jets fans are saying, "Oh, this is our year," or whatever. It's like, can you hang with Baltimore and Buffalo? Can you hang with Kansas City? And if you can't, you are not a real contender. You might be able to beat the paint off of the wall today against Detroit, Denver, or whatever. That might happen, but beating mediocre and crappy teams is different than beating very good teams in their house or whatever. And Buffalo has been playing great. on both sides of the ball. Special teams, like both of these teams got it all put together. Tucker's honestly missed one field goal or two field goals, and he might be slipping. But I mean, these are complete sort of. They've got their tickets booked for what is it, New Orleans? Like these fans of these teams are looking at Airbnbs for Super Bowl week already, you know, and I think when fans of teams like the Jets are kind of wishful thinking until you can prove it on that level. And I think it's going to be a great game, and I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, agreed. I think it's definitely one of the early season games of the year. I've always enjoyed seeing the Bills go up against the Ravens. The Ravens are a franchise I have a lot of love and respect for. I think just the way they've empowered, the Black community and Ozzie Newsome and, building around Lamar. And I think they really have been a franchise, a model franchise, So it's been cool to see whenever the Bills go up against them because they have a lot of the same DNA and some tough matchups. I think back to the 2020 season when they played up in Buffalo. There was only like 6,000 fans or so. And Taron Johnson picked off. Lamar Jackson ran it back to send them to the AFC title game. So, I think, whenever these two teams get together, it feels special. So I'm interested to see how tonight goes.
All right. Well, we've got about 20 minutes or 15 minutes before kickoff. Like, it's enough time for people to get their pregame on, maybe. And I really enjoyed this. We will be doing this hopefully more in the future with more picks and more all 22 film breakdowns in the future. You can check me out at Football Guys. I've got the offensive line ratings. Just doing my thing over there. What do you have to promote, Coach?
Yeah, I actually just found out this week that I'm going to be doing a weekly column with The Athletic. So make sure to check that out.
Correct.
It'll be appreciate that. Just doing some betting lines as far as MVPs and Super Bowls. So it'll be on the Athletic feed each week. So stay tuned for the next one coming up, just talking Super Bowl odds.
Well, I'm happy to hear that because I'm a customer of The Athletic, and some of their betting content has not been helpful. I will not name names, but they need the help, and I will not name names. But I'm excited for that. I think we all should be, and let's go make some money today, boys. Boys and girls, and whatever else you are out there.
Yeah.
I'm at Bitonti with. I want to get your name right so bad. It's Khari Demos. Khari Demos. My good friend Khari. I'm going to get that like tattooed on my hand so I can just look at it and get it right. I'm such a bad person. I'm turning into my father. Shout out to Jim Bitonti, the original sports bettor, who calls my friend, "Oh, how are you doing, Brett?" "Oh, it's Marvin." He just calls people names that aren't even close. So I'm turning into him. That's where we're at, week 4, and everybody have a good day. Final thoughts.
See y'all. Good luck today, everybody.